Thundergrunt.
Welcome to Writers Blockbusters, the show where we treat the final edit of a movie like the script. I'm one of the hosts, Bob Rose, and the other guys are going to introduce themselves right now.
I am Jimmy George. I am a screenwriter and script consultant. My Twitter handle is @JimmyRGeorge.
I am Jamie Nash. I am a screenwriter, and I am the writer of Save the Cat Writes for TV. I'm trying to think what did Jimmy just say?
Your Twitter handle.
My Twitter handle is Jamie, what is it? @Jamie_Nash. @Jamie_Nash. Look, I got a Save the Cat hat, too.
They can't see it, but it is nice. Save the hat.
Save the hat!
I am Bob Rose. I am @ThunderGruntBob on Twitter, and today we are going to talk about The Matrix 4, aka The Matrix Resurrections. Probably about a month late after everyone's already seen it and forgotten about it, but we're gonna do it because we said we were gonna do it. And that's what we're gonna do. Before we get into the nitty gritty of the script itself, straightforward script itself, let's go around the Zoom table and talk about what we thought. I'm gonna say. All right, yeah, Jimmy, you go first.
I'll start.
This is just your opinion, not the script thing.
Just opinion.
Just opinion.
I think on rewatch, it gets better because once you learn that Neil Patrick Harris is the analyst is the villain, you can see his manipulation throughout the whole thing. So there's an added level of like antagonist and tension that's not there in the first viewing, and I love what it's trying to do. I don't think it succeeds on the whole in what it's trying to do. And we're going to talk about all that later. And I think that it's awesome that it's trying to be a deconstruction of its own thing as a part 4. So I appreciate what it's trying to do. Not necessarily did I enjoy the whole thing. That's it.
Cool. James Nash, as your Zoom name says.
James Nash.
James Nash.
It's weird. My email always says that. Everybody says, "Are you James?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you can call me that. I don't care." So I am James legally. So the Matrix. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So Jamie is the nickname, and James. That's the important information today. So the Matrix, the Matrix Resurrections. That's kind of my review. I love the Matrix. I thought the Matrix 2 had some great scenes, and then after that, I just started to get bored of the whole Matrix thing. So I really haven't been into the Matrix, to be honest, since the first one. And then the second one, I was very excited about. I liked the car chase, and there's some cool stuff. And the weird architect thing had me interested for about 10 seconds before I checked out. But honestly, after the second Matrix, it's just I kind of lost interest. So take that with a grain of salt. So for this one, I still kind of like that they simplified it in some ways. Like the second, the third weren't my thing at all. The second, third Matrix. This one felt kind of like a simplified. It felt a little bit back to the beginning. Felt a little bit simplified. So I guess I like this a little more. But at the end of the day, I didn't really care for it that much. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. It's just okay.
Somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle.
Okay. That was my take.
Okay. So this will be my biggest section of talking through the whole episode, and I apologize to the listeners
excited.
And both of you.
I can't wait.
Well, I'm going to try to get through all of this quick, But
Bob's gonna cry.
yeah, I'm gonna get a few tears out. It's been a very long 2022 so far, but just to go from where Jamie is, obviously I love the first Matrix. I hated the second two when I was young. I actually have reappreciated and I actually love the sequels now as an older person because I view them as philosophy classes that I couldn't appreciate when I was a teenager, but I now think that they're a mess, but I can appreciate everything they're doing, and they still have the filmmaking, awesome soundtrack, awesome fighting, and texture, like actual craft of the first movie there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that was important to me. It was something I didn't realize I loved about those movies is how like stylistic the sequels are, especially Reloaded, obviously. And I absolutely adore the ridiculous fight scene at the end of the third movie. Like that's one of my favorite fight scenes of all time. It's so absurd. It's like an anime battle, but like, you know, live action. So when I first initial watched this movie, I was like, where's all that? It's all gone. It doesn't look like a Matrix movie. It doesn't sound like a Matrix movie. Why is this so limp? Like it's limp, not just talking about the script. It's limp like at the actual like texture level. Like it's not. It doesn't feel anything. Like the creative camera work and cues and everything are just gone. So that brings me to what my notes here that I actually made for a show where we were talking about the franchise itself. And I rewatched I watched it 3 times, once for that podcast and then once for this one. So I've seen the movie 3 times. I took notes, and I want to play a little game with the two of you because I want to see if you can recognize which movie I'm talking about. Okay. So there's a franchise. The first movie is an extremely successful hit, right? It's super successful. People love it, right? Years pass without a sequel. The studio begs the director to come back, but also threatens that if you don't, we're still going to make one. We're going to do it without you. But if you say yes, you can do whatever you want, which includes, you know, and they end up doing what they want, and that includes a meta-narrative commenting on the original success and also a complete change of tone and genre, right? Mm-hmm. The filmmaker eventually publicly admits that their goal was for there never to be another entry into the series. Mm-hmm. What movie am I talking about?
Jamie, I think you know.
Gremlins.
Gremlins
Correct.
2.
You're talking about Gremlins 2.
I mean, this is easy because it's Bob.
It's me.
But also,
this is
we love that movie.
My answer is always Gremlins to Bob.
Yeah, Gremlins. But that's the description of what happened with Joe Dante and Gremlins 2. Now, obviously, I think Gremlins 2 is a masterpiece, and I love it. We all know that. But I think the story of how that came to be is nigh identical to how the Matrix Resurrections came to be. Mm-hmm. A lot of people have been saying the Matrix Resurrections is the Last Jedi or the new nightmare of its franchise. I've seen a lot of that thing, but I'm saying here on our show, that it is the Gremlins 2 of the Matrix franchise because the filmmaker was literally forced into doing it, and then it was like, "Fuck you."
I had another vibe from this one though, based on what you just said. Not the whole rebellion aspect, but the whole flat, the cues were missing, all that stuff. Because that's the part that's weird. That, you know, Joe Dante's Gremlins 2 doesn't have that part. You know,
I have an answer for you, Jamie, on that.
He's amped up. But the one movie that came to mind with this one was Crystal Skull. It was like, oh, the filmmakers are back, and it feels like an imitation of the filmmakers. It was very strange.
There's an intentional reason for this, Jamie. And here's the thing is, this, unlike Gremlins 2, where Joe Dante did everything he ever wanted to do, and actually he's kind of best being subversive, and that's why that movie is kind of incredible. The Wachowskis are subversive in real life more than they are in their movies. We're talking about filmmakers here who spent $160 million on Jupiter Ascending to basically end their blockbuster career. They don't want a part of this anymore. This was the only reason Lana came back to do anything, was because she had this opportunity. This was like thrust upon her. You know what I mean? So, and not to mention, she's also reacting to the culture who appropriated the red pill iconography and everything that she hates. MAGA, QAnon, all that. She is publicly on Twitter said, "Fuck you" to those people. Literally, fuck you. So she turned her multi-million-dollar action sci-fi franchise into a romantic love story that was basically saying, hey, the white guy isn't the one. It's actually a woman is part of it now. And then she gave the rest of the movie complete feminine energy. Women in this movie are in charge of everything. They know what's going on. It has Neo is basically not the one anymore in this movie, right? Like, that's the point.
But I think you're right, but I don't think it does a good job.
I'm not saying it does a good job
communicating.
I'm not talking about the quality here.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about if it succeeds. I'm talking about why what we're going to talk about is why it got to what we're going to talk about.
Yeah. It's good. It's good.
Yeah. I'm saying that this is a fuck you where I don't think that Lana cares that much. She said on the red carpet when asked if there's going to be a new trilogy that this is the start of, she laughed and said no. Period.
So
she doesn't want this to go on. The stuff that we didn't like, she doesn't give a fuck that we like it or not.
So here's my thing. Because I think I want to jump in there and talk about that. But so first, let me just say who wrote this. It was Lana Wachowski and basically her Sense8 team, and there's a team that worked on Cloud Atlas and Sense8 and all that stuff. David Mitchell, Alexander Heeman, Lily. Well, Lily didn't work on this, but
it's just created by a character. Yeah. Probably. Yeah.
So there's a team. So jumping into the deconstruction thing, I can see that could be the impetuous. There's a part of me that you say that she doesn't care. There's a part of me that feels that she doesn't care that much, because I think this could have been much more subversive and much more blown up and much more deconstructive. To me, the movie does that in the beginning a little bit, and then it goes off and does like something another director might do with a Matrix movie for a long time, then comes back to it a little bit. If you really want to be subversive, just stick in the first beginning part of that movie. You don't even give us any Matrix crap. Just
there's like
wild with your 200 million, but I think it does do the beats, and it does do the thing, and it does what anybody else would have done with a sequel, even though it has a little bit. Honestly, what I felt it had insecurity lines. I thought the whole movie was an insecurity line.
No, it totally does. Yeah,
for the series, like somebody who didn't really want to be there and thought the whole thing was stupid, and was kind of just did a big insecurity line for the whole thing, and that makes it seem like I really hate the movie. But anyway, I like the deconstructive parts, but I wish it was Gremlins too. I wish it was, but
not everything can be that perfect, Jamie.
No. I would have loved if Lana came to this and said, I'm going to just blow this thing up.
Remember, I am not saying it's nearly as good as Gremlins, so I really want to stress that. I don't necessarily even think it's a good movie. I was just making that comparison to the real life aspect of its production, like the actual framing. Now, what Joe Dante and what Lana Wachowski did when they actually got on the set is two separate things. You know what I mean? What I wanted to say is I agree with you, Jamie. I think the first third of the movie has all those elements there, and it kind of just goes away, which annoys me. I like the first third of the movie a lot.
Me too.
I
took some notes that I think a lot of people might have missed. I took some obvious notes too about the first third, proving all this stuff. The movie starts out by watching a bad remake of The Matrix starring new actors,
and comments on it.
And then the one line: "Why use old code to make something new?" Right? This isn't the story we think it is, right? So It's no longer The Matrix. The sign that Bugs lands on. It says Anderson really big, and if you can barely see this, but if you pause it, it says "For those who love to eat shit."
Yeah, I saw.
And this is a straight up fuck you. When they're running out of the movie theater, a lot of people miss this. You don't see it, but it says "Root of all evil" above on the theater marquee. That's the movie they went to see. A movie is the root of all evil, right? They say the same stories we always told. MPH, my theory on the first third, at least, MPH is obviously, he is the Matrix. The Matrix is Neo's therapy, right? Lana's using this as her own therapy. My theory here is that Neo is Lana, and you might ask why. There's that conversation. This is the last thing I'll say too. The conversation that him and Trinity have in the thing. He says, "But you made the Matrix," and he said, "Yeah, we kept some kids entertained." That's Neo as Lana talking about her and Lily, right?
Absolutely.
It says, "Did you base the main character on yourself?" There's a lot of me in it.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
so Neo in this movie is Lana to me, at least. That's what the point was. I think all of this stuff I just said gets completely lost in the second half. But the intent, what I'm saying is the intention. What I've said my whole segment here has just been the intention, which I think goes into what we're going to talk about, was there.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't, she didn't, I don't think she cares that it's a Gremlins 2. I don't think she actually doesn't give a fuck if it's successful and if people hate it. In fact, I think she actually wants a lot of the fan base to literally get mad at it. Like, I think it was made to be gotten mad at. That's why it's weird to even talk about the script, because I'm like, I don't think Lana cares that much.
Interesting.
So we're gonna break something down where I'm like, I don't think the person was that like trying as hard as they could have been.
I wish I knew more about the making of, because what I have read, and maybe it's just the studio trying to put positive stuff out there, is I read an interview with Lana where she said she was feeling like creatively lost, and it wasn't even about the genesis wasn't even about the Matrix. It was about her parents died in close proximity to each other, and she was feeling like creatively lost, and she had just like a deep desire to reunite with her parents. And she said, well, I can't reunite with my parents, but you know who I can reunite with? Two characters that I love deeply, that I can find a way to like reunite with these characters that I haven't been able to see for a while. And so the death of her parents, I'm pushing back a little.
No, that's fine. That's fine.
At your saying she doesn't care, because the interview I read with her was that she wrote this story like inspired by the love she had for her parents.
Okay, I agree. How about this? Let me rephrase myself a bit. Let me say, I don't think she cares that this was a hit or a financially successful blockbuster film. This is to her maybe more of, like what you just said, which supported, more of an art house expression of her own thing with a bunch of studio money.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Because I'll say, Bob, like, to your point, because I agree with you, like there's that article that's out there, which I don't know if either of you have read it. I'm sorry I don't have the source, but look it up. It says The Matrix Resurrection is an attack on the Matrix itself, is the name of the article. And the person in that talks about, they use a term I've never heard that sounds a little pretentious, but whatever. Anti-aesthetic, like meaning like creating an aesthetic that is the antithesis of the aesthetic we know on purpose to make us be like, this fight scene sucks. This doesn't look like the beautifully crafted aesthetic that I love about the
Could
Matrix
you disagree
world.
with that though?
No, and it's
the fight scenes are so bad in this movie.
It's
terrible.
And after hearing it and then going back in and watching it again, it's like, oh, that makes sense. And it does almost feel intentional when you watch it through that lens. So for me though, Bob, that oddly makes me go like, she cares very much to do all that on purpose.
We're also doing a lot of guessing. I'm not trying
I know. No, I know.
I'm also, like I said, like I think the Wachowskis in general have always been like extremely subversive trolls in their whole career. I think The Matrix is a subversive movie, the first one.
Yeah.
Like, no one was only people that were that subversive
big time, dude,
could make that movie, right? And then they used that goodwill to be subversive the entirety up until now. Like, have you seen Speed Racer? I love Speed Racer, but that is not a movie made by people that are just like trying to win over audiences. It's not. That's what they do as filmmakers. And I think this is just another in a long line of it. It's without Lily. It's just with Lana, but still.
Yeah. I love everything you pointed out. I think everything you pointed out is really important to the rest of the discussion.
Right. We can talk about it. We can approach it normally and straightforward.
Yeah.
But I'm just trying to frame it. That's all.
So when the first topic on our list is deconstruction, and the only reason I wanted to talk about it like up front, beyond. I knew Bob, I knew you were going to come in hard with this stuff, which is great. I appreciate it.
I just wanted to frame it. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, because I really feel like, and I didn't do this for the rest of the talking points, but I really feel like every single talking point that we talk about the construction of the script going forward, that you could look at it from two different strategies, which is you have your deconstruction strategy that has it's right, Jamie. It's your gimmick paint, right, Jamie? The deconstruction paint.
We said the Gremlins 2 thing, but I would almost say the best example would be RoboCop. How RoboCop totally works as a sci-fi action movie, and also totally works as a satire.
Right.
Both arcs are
paralleling,
separate, but parallel perfect, and they're both successful. You can watch RoboCop for entertainment, or you can watch it as like a brain food movie.
Right.
You know, like,
and I think
that's what this wants to be.
And I think there's places where the deconstruction completely goes away. There's no deconstruction paint, and that's why it's not cohesive. That's why we're all three going like, it works. It does that sometimes, because there's literally parts of this movie where deconstruction is not there at all. Yeah. It's like goes back to traditional. In the second act, which we'll get there, there's like no deconstruction at all. So
right, and so it reminds me a little bit of, and I don't have a good movie to give an example of this, but I love Scream. You know, Scream is kind of heralded as this kind of movie that
very relevant.
Very relevant.
Yeah,
very relevant.
Yeah.
But at times I wonder how deconstructive Scream is. It is deconstructive. It's self-aware. But does it really then go off to the point where it is a deconstruction, or does it just deliver for?
And it's also made by Wes Craven, which is important to note.
So, right. So self-aware and deconstruction are like two different things.
Two different things. Yes.
And this one, I think this one's more self-aware than it's a deconstruction. Like that's at times, but maybe that's where I'm missing the joke. You know, maybe it is a deconstruction. I missed it, so I'm the goofball. You know, but self-aware and deconstruct, that's the thing. So that's why I am judging this movie when you ask my opinion of it, or did I like it? I think I'm judging it from, does it deliver? Because again, self-aware still has to deliver the action movie, the sci-fi movie I expect to see, where deconstruction might not have to do that. It just has to deliver intellectual stimulation about the genre I'm talking about.
I'm going to go with you, Jamie, and say it's self-aware because of the joke after the credits, if you guys stayed for after the credits.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Well, what about the cat tricks?
Cats. The cat
See,
tricks.
That joke to me says it's self-aware more than it says it's deconstructing anything.
Right. It doesn't. I agree with you. What I was going to point out, I was going to ask what you guys think of this is, you know, I'm seeing, it reminds me a lot of the Captain Marvel responses, where it's like being heralded, movie was being heralded as the great feminist movie that ever greatest feminist movie that ever existed, when in reality that's not what it was, nor was it trying to be that.
The filmmakers did not intend that.
Right. Yeah, here the side of the movie watching world that loves it, they're going, it's a complete deconstruction of blockbuster filmmaking. Blockbuster filmmaking will never be the same. The light has never been shown more on Hollywood and the blockbuster, blah, blah. It never references any other movie other than its own franchise. To me, it's not that at all. It's not trying to be that. And anyone who is reading into that is just like placing their own unconscious desire to see that. But I don't think that's there at all. And the reason I say that is because, like, if it was trying to do that, then all three of us would be like, well, it failed at doing that.
It's not Last Action Hero.
Yes, nor is it trying to be.
No, it's not trying to be.
So I know we're doing a lot of comparisons, but the one I throw it closer to is like Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back or something. Whereas they kind of
That's a perfect example, Jamie.
Yeah.
It is. They kind of are constantly making fun of what they're doing as they go, kind of thing.
Which
So-
is very in line with an insecurity line, right, Jamie?
It is.
Yeah.
And that's what this, which I can enjoy. I mean, I can enjoy that.
I feel like all
enjoyed
three
it
of us
in this.
enjoy those type of movies generally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
That's kind of my favorite type of movie. Like, I wish I liked this more because it's trying to do something I usually adore. You know, like
Right.
yeah.
Right. Now, I did like the beginning when it was doing that.
First act when it was doing news.
I was so in. I was so down. Keanu overdosing on blue pills. I was like, all right, we're just going straight for it. Okay. You know.
Amazing. But yeah, so you guys are on board, on the same page with me, that it's not a deconstruction of the blockbuster itself.
No, it's of the
show.
Matrix. It's of the Matrix and of the Wachowskis' career.
It's adaptation for the Matrix.
Yes,
basically.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
So I mean, I think
we're done.
Can we talk? Yeah, that's it.
Peace out.
We're gonna have to do an episode where we actually talk about writers' blockbusters.
Right. What is the show?
What is the show? How's it been written? Superior position.
Was this Bob's intent or Jamie? What's Jamie's theme?
Oh man.
Anyway,
that would be the last episode of Writers' Blockbusters. Superior position.
Whose note is this?
I think it was mine. I think it was mine.
If you didn't put, I didn't put notes on this. Album,
okay.
So.
Yeah. So when I was watching, I went in this whole debate for myself. The fact that we were way ahead of Neo in a lot of ways, I wondered if there was something instructive to talk about for writing as far as that goes. This is a good example of it. And this one is playful with how it uses it in some ways, but we're definitely ahead of him. Like, he's stuck in this thing, but we know what the truth is. We know. Now, I guess you could argue that maybe we don't. Like Lana could have stuck in that world the whole movie, and then in the end tricked us all and said, aha, it was only a video game all the time. And it was just pretend or something.
No, but it did happen. So
it did happen.
Yeah.
So we know, we've seen the other movies. We know. That does a weird thing for your first act. It does a thing where you're like, okay, let's get to it. Okay, what is it going to be? You're kind of, even though this had lots of fun stuff. Like I said, my favorite part was the beginning, but it does make you like, let's get to it. Let's catch Neo up. Let's, and it makes it less like his primary issue, his things that need fixing are sort of things we already know, and we're way ahead of him, and he'll figure out really quick once he's shown the light. It was I don't know what the set.
So when you pointed it out, I wasn't thinking about it until you pointed this out, and I think building off what I said a minute ago, whereas you have your two strategies, right? You have your deconstruction paint, and then you have your traditional storytelling strategies as far as like the writing. The superior position works on two levels. From a deconstructing standpoint, we know this is a reboot of a major franchise, and we know all the Matrix movies that came before it and all the story world elements leading up to this reintroduction to the story world. So that's like a huge impact on our experience for these first four movies. It's completely like informing how we feel about everything that's coming on screen. And then on a second level that's the tension, right, Jamie? Like, the tension for the first 45 minutes is when is Neo going to align with what we know? When's he going to catch up?
Is that tension, or is it us just waiting for it to happen?
I think the tension is surrounding. Is he gonna align? Is he gonna figure it out? Is he going to figure out what we already know?
I don't know. I kind of lean towards Jamie's feeling, though. I feel like I don't know if I was tense about it.
Well, okay. I think I agree with both of you. I think it's intended to be the tension, but I don't think it totally works.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It works there. I was just like, okay, we get it. When is he going to figure it out? Like, there's like a
gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least for me.
For me too.
let's get to the
You know
story
what?
here.
The only thing that sustains that is all of the jokes and stuff about the Matrix. Like if that wasn't there, I would have been completely
the winky
bored.
stuff.
The callbacks.
It's all the winky stuff.
Yeah.
It's all the callbacks.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
all the they're doing another joke about that. They're doing another joke, which is fun.
Oh, it's a boardroom. It's a boardroom, literally talking about the first movie. Okay, yeah. Without that, I mean, is there much value to watching it? That first part, I don't think so.
That's true. It would be if someone was watching The Matrix 4 as their first movie, what would you feel? Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Maybe
No,
that,
but Jamie,
for someone that hasn't seen the movies, Jimmy, they would have more value because they'd be like, "What's going on?" But we didn't. We knew what was going on.
Yeah, honestly, those people might have viewed it like the first movie. When we watched the first movie, we were like,
"What's going on?
He's on edgy. There's something going on."
As we're talking about the tension not working, oddly enough, all three of us here are, at least I think this is what I read from you, Bob. This is our favorite portion of the story. So why is that?
Because of the jokes.
So it's because the Gremlins 2 act.
Yeah.
The Gremlins 2 approach is landing.
This was Leonard Maltin holding up the VHS for Gremlins and saying it was terrible part of the movie.
For 45 minutes.
For 45 minutes. Yeah, that's what this was, and that's why it's my favorite part.
But I think there is some disorientation because we don't know anything about Neo's present. We are on board we know everything that happened in Neo's past, but
we don't know how he got here. You're right.
We are not aware whatsoever of what's happening in the present.
You're right. There's a point too where you can also argue that we don't even actually know if the Matrix happened.
It's real. Right. Yeah, so
remember, I don't know, just a little BTS on like me and Jimmy talking about this movie months before it came out. Jimmy, you were worried that the whole plot was going to be the Matrix didn't happen.
Yeah, that was.
I remember that.
That was my.
Yeah.
I was like, shit. I saw a projection of the movie in the background in the trailer, and that tells me that they're going to say that none of that was real, and that
I told you it wasn't going to happen. But you're right, though. That could have been where we came from. That could have been. But you're right.
Yeah.
So to sum up, I was gonna you're right that we don't exactly know what is going on.
Yeah. So there is some.
It doesn't feel like tension though. It just feels like confusion. I guess that's my point.
There's disorientation, which
is about it.
Yeah. So that is a thing. I mean, this is kind of an aside, but when you're doing your setups of your stories, tension. I always say tension is the thing that keeps us engaged and watching. Mm-hmm. Jokes can too. There's some other entertaining things that can happen, but mostly it's tension for stories. But one of the tensions, because before you get to the actual story, the conflict, that Neo has to do the thing or the horrible thing will happen, you have to come up with other tensions. Mystery can be some tensions, but I think in this case, curiosity. I think it's using our superior position to say, what the hell's going on here? This isn't the Matrix. How did Neo get here? We saw Matrix 3. So we have curiosity that Neo doesn't have. It's a disassociated tension in some ways. It's like we're curious about how the story, and that actually fuels us and can get us. It works a lot in television. You see that they can do a whole episode on curiosity. It wears
thin, don't you think? A little bit.
It does wear thin
because you're like, okay, why isn't he dead? Just tell me why he's not dead.
My point is, it's a dangerous game. You should align your main character with the audience as soon as possible.
Yes.
Because otherwise you really can't get into the true heart of the story, which is, I'm Neo. Let's see what I'm going to do. Let's see what I'm going to experience.
This movie takes 46 minutes to get that.
Yes.
To get that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right. That's a good point.
So superior position is checked off the list.
This is probably my favorite point that you put in here, Jimmy, is there's no desert of the real sequence.
Okay,
which I think we have to talk, just define what that is in the first movie again for people listening. Maybe not, they haven't heard our first episode on the.
It seems like a screenwriting buzzword.
Desert of the real, yeah. It does.
It does, but it's not. It should be. Yeah. So I don't. If you go back and listen to our, you don't need to, but if you want to, we did an episode on the first Matrix a couple years ago.
It's essential listening, I think.
It's probably the greatest criticism of the first movie ever released.
Lana said
it's a love letter to it, man.
Lana said that this movie was a reaction to that podcast.
Oh my gosh. One thing we learned in like research for that episode is that the desert of the real sequence in the first Matrix, which is when Morpheus shows Neo what the real world actually looks like and explains all the exposition about the story world. And, you know, the Matrix is a system, and he takes them in and shows them the woman with the red dress, all the various things that are confusing up to now. They do a really good job of making this exposition really entertaining and, most of all, really comprehensible and really clear about what's happening. And so that you leave that sequence, the desert of the real, with zero sense of confusion as to what's happening, and you're on board for the next hour and nothing needs to be explained to you. You're ready to go. In this, exactly where it happens in the structure of the first movie, Neo follows Bugs through the lighted door onto the train sequence, and they sit in front of a projection of the desert of the real sequence from the first movie. You know, so there's your deconstruction paint right on the nose.
Right.
Where at that point in the story that we previously got complete orientation and understanding what's happened, they literally keep you confused. We get Morpheus saying, the
new Morpheus too, not even the old
we get the new Morpheus created by Neo, by the way, which he says, nothing comforts anxiety like a little nostalgia. No one can be told what the Matrix is. Blah blah blah. and then he gives them the pill. He says, if you want out, take this pill. If you think where you are where you belong every day over and over, take the blue pill. And then Neo says, fuck. And when Neo takes the pill, his therapist shows up, and his therapist says, and at that point we don't know he's a villain.
Yeah.
His therapist says, Thomas, what's happening right now? He says, you are in the midst of a serious psychotic breakdown, and none of this is real. Feel my hand. My hand is what's real. Stay with me, Neo. Stay with me. None of this is real. So in this crucial sequence in the previous movie, where all that curiosity, Jamie, you talked about, and all that tension building up to some sort of release and answer and understanding and alignment with the story. Instead, we just get ambiguity. We get complete, like, hey, not so fast. I'm not going to tell you if it's real or not. I'm going to keep confusing the shit out of you. And here we go for another hour before we really tell you what the fuck is going on. So because even after that, because of that analyst scene, because of the Neil Patrick Harris showing up and saying, no, what's happening to you is not actually happening to you. We can't trust fully that what Neo is experiencing after that is actually the real world, in my opinion, at least. First viewing, I was like, well, all bets are off. I don't know what the hell's going on.
If anything, I'll give it this. It works better, and I read so much more stuff seeing it 3 times.
Second time, yeah, for me.
Like, did you guys realize that in the WB exec's office, there's a statue of Hugo Weaving getting punched in the face from the third movie?
No,
stuff like that I didn't realize. Okay, I'm sorry. I know that's not right.
No.
But yeah.
So if this movie had taken, I'm talking about writing now, from a writing standpoint.
Yeah, I know.
Right? The lack of exposition and orientation for the audience in that crucial moment, like Jamie said, we've been waiting for 45 minutes to be for Neo to align with what we know and to get kind of like grounded, right? Put us in the center of the world and tell us what the fuck is going on.
Throw a life preserver, please.
Right.
Give us something.
And instead, the movie makes a joke about us wanting that, and then tells us it's not real. Like now that I'm talking about it, I almost see that.
Yeah, but it's like part of me is like that's kind of awesome, you know? Part of me like likes that a lot.
Yeah, saying it out loud to you guys now, I can kind of see Lana be like, "Why do you even care so much? Go kiss your loved one."
And this goes back to deconstruction versus self-aware. If the movie at that point had pivoted to the point where it wasn't the Matrix movie and we weren't right and all the things we assumed weren't right, that would be awesome.
But instead, that's where
it's just another feet shuffle.
Yeah, feet shuffle. That's from then on. For me, that's where the movie loses steam, because it strips away all that deconstruction paint, and it just becomes like the Matrix 4.
It becomes the Matrix 4, which is a love story.
No, I'm talking about, it, like we get to see what the world is like now that that Neo did and Trinity did what they did, and we find out that Morpheus died because he believed that what Neo did mattered, and then Lana is saying, but none of it mattered. But
no, you're right.
No, I was really struck by like, wow, like the fact that at this crucial section of the movie we're in this, because originally I was like, should we compare the two movies, the Matrix 1 and the Matrix 4? Because we only did that on the comparison episode, Speed versus Speed 2. But I almost feel like a great episode would be Matrix versus Matrix 4, because they inform why the one has such deep emotional impact and the other one doesn't. From a storytelling standpoint, never mind the deconstruction.
I think but you can't compare like Speed 2 to Matrix 4. You know what I mean? Like Speed 2 is not trying to do anything.
Where Speed 2, where the goal is to slow down be as slow as possible.
Well,
slow the boat down.
Slow the boat down.
Here's where
Speed 2.
Here's where, and I hate that. I feel like I might be turning this into more critique or something at times. But here's where I will say, like the modern day movie, like when we see the Halloween reboot and things like that, where they kind of are like, let's skip the middle and keep 1 and 4 the same, even Force Awakens to an extent. It's like, let's kind of, that to me, like the deconstruction, like in some ways, I hate to say this, but George Lucas was probably more baller with what he did with the prequels than what this does, because he was like, I'm going to do this weird thing. I'm going to talk about trade wars. I'm going to do my own thing. And I don't, and maybe it's because he was out of touch with the public, but he did this weird thing in the middle, and then it took a J.J. Abrams to come back and say, look, I'm going to do basically the same thing. I'm going to have a Death Star and we're going to do the thing and we're going to do the droids. This movie feels to me more like Force Awakens than it does Phantom Menace, where the 2 and 3 feel a little bit more Phantom Menace to me, and that to me is
you're
more like
to my choir here, Jamie. I hate Force Awakens, and I kind of don't hate the prequels anymore. So.
I'm not a big fan of Matrix 2 and Matrix 3, but I understand. I appreciate the fact that they went and did their thing, and it didn't feel like movies that had a lot of studio notes in those movies.
No, that was you made the first movie, do whatever you want movies.
Yeah,
that's what those movies are.
Yeah, like so to say like this was that movie, I think those two were more that movie than this. I think those two movies were like, we could do whatever we want. We're gonna give you a philosophy lesson. We're gonna do this weird stuff. We're gonna do stuff. I think they just went and did what they wanted in 2 and 3. Wachowskis.
2 and 3 are them trying to say something, and 4 is them trying to say something about 1, 2, and 3.
That I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
And that's the difference. That's the actual difference. They were actually trying to say something about life in the first 3 movies, whether you like them or not. They were trying to say something.
Yeah,
like something
I agree.
Of value.
And there's a part of me that wonders. This is all speculation, not screenwriting, but whatever.
It's a hard movie to talk about.
Yeah, it is. But I'm glad we're talking about it. I'm enjoying it. I feel like I'm like getting to know the movie more by what you guys are saying. There's a part of me that wonders, because obviously Neil Patrick Harris's character, the analyst, is, you know, supposed to be a commentary on both the Matrix suits. It's funny that Neil Patrick Harris calls the people above him the suits, but he's kind of, I think, supposed to be the suits. Mm-hmm. And he's also like, I've read people say he's supposed to be a commentary on therapists that are unhelpful to trans people, to their trans patients. And I could see that. But anyway, part of me wonders, like, if she really did get any pushback, or if she really was allowed to do whatever the hell she wanted, and just having a character who represents Warner Brothers' interest makes for good drama, so you make it that way.
I know we're kind of off the rails here, but let's put it into perspective. This is the Warner Brothers we're talking about, who has made a litany of mistakes in the past decade, and also are being accused of several things, including, like, you know, the racist tactics, pushing out everything.
That's true.
Like, WB was in a position to beg for a movie that had Matrix in the title. I think she was let to do what she wanted because they just need something. They're not in a good place.
So it's very interesting that she was led to do what she wanted, but there's so much commentary about being kept from doing what she wanted.
I guess maybe that was a commentary on the sequels, the original.
Yeah,
sequels.
I don't know. But yeah.
Or just that might have been where you get the slight bit of Hollywood blockbuster filmmaking commentary,
right?
Because they have made other movies that.
But I mean, when you get to the when we'll get to the big reveal, like, he's talking about how expensive it was to get the two of them back together, and the scheduling was a nightmare. I mean, what the fuck else could he be saying except it was really hard?
It's so hard to talk about the writing.
Carrie Ann Moss and the scheduling, man.
It's so hard to talk about the writing because so much real world shit is affecting this movie. Like, we didn't even talk about the fact that I think the only reason there's a new Morpheus is because you can't ask Lawrence Fishburne to do those action sequences anymore.
Well, he said he wasn't even approached whatsoever.
But I'm saying
they actually did try to get. They tried to get Hugo. They almost got Hugo.
Yeah.
It was the schedule. It was the scheduling. The scheduling was a nightmare.
The whole idea that those two are new and everybody, it's very confusing. It's very awkward.
It makes it so much more confusing.
And then you add on to, like, Keanu staring in the mirror and he's an old bald man. Like, what?
No, it probably had. I think some of that stuff definitely has a meaning, but.
Yeah,
I don't know if I'm willing to keep digging, because it's like, how much do you want me to dig here? The movie's not the second half of the movie's not fun enough for me to keep wringing in blood from a rock, you know?
Yeah, so that's the thing. So let's get to the villain's plan.
The villain's plan. What is the villain's plan?
Because there's a part of me that feels like a lot of it was, and this is where it gets weird because we're trying to instruct new screenwriters, but this is sequel franchise screenwriting. But,
nobody will ever have this opportunity. Like,
no,
this
not
is such
at
a
all.
rare thing.
But I think going into this is going to be really instructive.
Yeah, it's really funny. Yeah.
Nobody has that. So as far as the villain's plan goes, and this is where it started to get really weird. It seemed like there was a lot of patchwork just to get this movie in place. Like, okay, well, they realized that you two were powerful, so they put you back in the thing, and they put you in the thing and put you close together because that gave more power. And I don't know.
There's a lot of what do we use in the Avengers Endgame double mumbo jumbo stuff? I think that's where a lot of this comes in, like a lot of the scientific theory in it. I was like, what? Like their proximity in the real world matters. Whatever. I don't.
It felt a little. To me, it just all felt first draft. Like it's the kind of thing that if I went to a pitch and they said, "Okay, you're going to do the new Matrix movie. What's your idea?" I'd have to come up with something like that. Would have to be the thing that they all jumped up and high-fived me. Like, you figured it out. You solved the problem. And if I came in with that, like, oh, well, after a little while, they realized, they put them back, they did a thing. Here's
the thing, though, like, even that part of it, and I'm going to get to my own thoughts on this, but now that you're talking about it, I mean, think about it, like, even the plan, like, they never explained like the Matrix was working just fine when Neo and Trinity were dead. So like even just bringing them back, they didn't even need to bring them back. The Matrix was working fine. Everybody was hooked up. And he was just like, I just wanted to do something cool.
Hold on. But the movie does say that they were superior batteries together.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
That was the impetus.
Power.
The power they were sucking from the two of them was superior.
And is that why they put him in a thing called the Anomalium? That's
oh, come on. The names of this movie are great. Simulate. Come on, man.
Their pods are named the Anomalium.
Hey, robots aren't good namers, okay?
That's right.
You know, they're not screenwriters. We've seen like screenwriting bots and what they do.
Oh, dude, I've totally had things as lame as Anomalium and worse in my own script. So I am not trying to knock that. It's just funny.
That would be, I think
it's the Unobtainium, right? Unobtainium.
Yeah.
Right?
Unobtainium.
Yeah.
Which is an actual. Now, to be fair, that's an actual word in science, but people just treated it like it was the worst word in Avatar.
Anomalium would be a good name for a kid, and then you could call him Liam for
call
short.
Liam.
Liam.
Yeah. So we know why the Matrix brought them back, because they wanted to suck their power. But the plan, you're talking about the villain's plan as in this actual storyline.
Yes, here's where first let me reiterate the villain's plan for the Matrix 1.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which is a movie that was like beloved worldwide and spawned all the sequels because of its emotional impact. Ultimately, it was an emotionally satisfying story.
Right.
So part of, you know, we do our show, right, Jamie? The arc plot, the mini plot, the anti-plot.
Right.
This is the Matrix is your standard cheeseburger, your arc plot movie. Part of the ingredient, one of the main ingredients to your arc plot movie is a villain's plan that's compelling. And in the Matrix, the villain's plan is they want to locate Morpheus and the Nebuchadnezzar, his ship, to get the code to Zion, and their reward for that will be the destruction of all the free minds in humanity. And so that's a very easy to follow villain's plan. And we meet Smith within 2 minutes of the movie, and Smith is leading his agents for the duration, and they are like a presence that is a threat to everyone in the story for the duration of the movie. There's not like this what's the bad guy, who's doing what. There's no confusion. It's very simple, and it has massive stakes, which we're going to get into later. And there's even an internal antagonist the whole time, which is Cypher, who is, his goal is to help them achieve that on the human side. So there's a bad guy in the midst. There's a traitor, you know, which adds this additional element to the antagonism and the cheeseburger recipe tasting like it should. In this movie, the analyst's goal, like you said, is to keep Neo from remembering who he is, keep Trinity from remembering who she is, keep them in close proximity in the Matrix, and just prevent them from falling in love. That's a very almost abstract type. It's so hard to, like, Jamie, you have your classic. What's your exercise, Jamie? We'll do it from a villain standpoint. What's your draw the goal exercise?
Yeah. So it should be something you can draw or something you could take a picture of. So if your hero, like Raiders of the Lost Ark, you can take a picture of Indiana Jones claiming the Lost Ark or putting it in the museum or something like that. Mm-hmm. You can, if Finding Nemo, you could take a picture of Nemo being found and Dad and Nemo being reunited. Back to the Future, you could take a picture of Marty coming back to the future and being home, you know, getting home. Wizard of Oz, coming home. Take a picture of these things.
So you can take a picture of it. It's filmable. These things that they describe are filmable, but it's like really complex. It's hard to like, okay, we got to keep...
It's abstract, yeah.
It's abstract, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's not just one abstract goal. It's like 3 abstract goals. So that's one reason why it's not compelling. The second problem is we don't even meet the analyst until 22 minutes, and then we don't even know he's a villain or that he has a plan until 95 minutes. So we go 95 of this minutes of this movie without a villain,
without an opposing force,
without an opposing force, without understanding who we're battling against, other than the general machines based on our nostalgia and our recollection of the past.
I point out too that in the movie, before we know about the analyst, we're told that we're given that line, which I actually liked, which was that what we were wrong about in the original Matrix movies, what it was us versus them. What we didn't realize it was that we have to work together. So they kind of also erase the machines as being completely evil and give us some sympathy towards them.
Yeah, it's weird.
Good.
And
so
I want to talk
confused
about that. Yeah, and I want to talk about that because I think that's a part of all this. That's in this.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, we don't even know who NPH is until then. And we're taking away the villainy of the machines sort of in the middle there. So it's like,
right.
Who's the bad guy anymore?
Right. And I think that's intentional, and I don't think that works.
It's not a blockbuster movie. That's what the thing is. It's not. It's just not.
Well, so let's see. The other thing is Smith's goal is, I think he's supposed to function like Cypher, because Cypher was the circus mirror version of Neo, which is, if Neo does all the wrong choices, then he is Cypher. If Neo makes all the wrong choices in this movie, he is Smith. He's someone who can eventually control the Matrix, but he just doesn't free all the minds. He just stays. And that's what Smith wants. Smith wants to stay, and he wants to kick Neo out, and he just wants to be in the Matrix and control it and have power, So it's another one of these it's fine, but it doesn't it's not a threat. You know what I mean?
It's also the opposite of what he originally wanted to do.
Right, which
literally
is
in the sequels, he weasels his way out of the Matrix.
Right. No, this time he wants to stay.
Right.
So, okay, let's talk about Niobe, because she is an antagonist, right? She's your internal antagonist in this movie. But it's weird. I am saying the machines in this movie are an empire without a Death Star, and they're an empire without a rebellion. There's no Death Star, and there's no rebellion. and so when we meet Niobe at IO, it's funny that you brought up the prequels, Jamie, because it's basically like the Jedi Council all over again. We get one scene where they debate the value of freeing minds, and it's 2 lines, and basically Niobe's goal is not to free minds,
right?
And go ahead.
Sorry, Jimmy.
Please do interject.
No, please. Yeah.
One thing this points out that we'll talk about later is the stakes. I mean, this is my problem with the story, because stakes. Keep in mind, stakes in your log line when you're writing a story, or what propels. It's the why now. Why does this have to happen right now? Why can't we not wait a day? Why can't we not wait a second? And because there's no empire, there's no rebellion or Death Star. So, in one movie, it might be crush the rebellion. We have to do it before the rebellion's crushed. In another movie, it might be we have to destroy the Death Star before it blows up a planet or crushes the rebellion or something like that. We don't have that. So, and that makes for this middle where it's just exposition scene after exposition scene. That's just kind of all talk, because there's no real rush.
So really, the why now is just he got tired of taking pills and his depression got too hard. That's kind of the why now, right? It's
right.
Just, he can't take it anymore. That's that's it. That's all we have.
It's not a compelling why now.
It's not.
And it could happen at any time.
Yeah.
Whereas in Star Wars, they're constructing the Death Star, so it's a very specific time that creates, and the selection of that time creates urgency immediately to the story.
Why do they take Neo out of the Matrix too? I was a little confused about that. Why do they need to take him out?
Bugs defied Niobe just because he's a legend and they
kind of fanboy.
It was a fanboy reason. They wanted to meet the legend. Yeah.
No, not just that, guys. He inadvertently awakened her mind. She saw him.
Oh, right. She saw him.
Here's what happened.
You're right.
And they don't do a good job of dramatizing this. But after watching it, I realized what it is. It's because they don't show what she sees. They only show the start of what she sees. She sees him as the old man jump off the building and not fall.
Okay.
But he doesn't remember any of that because he's been gaslit by the analyst to forget that he did that. But the movie doesn't do a good job dramatizing that or showing that that's what happened. So she saw him jump off the building, and that led to her mind rejecting the Matrix and to her waking up.
Well, it's also just now occurring to me her name is Bugs. She references Bugs Bunny, and she leaps. Her thing is leaping.
Her name is Bugs, short for Bunny. Bugs Bunny.
But I'm saying her thing is that she hops around in the Matrix. I just realized that.
Oh, she's totally meta, dude.
Yeah, I just realized that. I can't believe
their most famous character. Yes,
Dante put that in.
And it's a WB character.
Yeah, their most famous character.
Yeah.
So yeah, one more meta.
The other reason that's tricky, the way you just described, like why they took him out. Because honestly, I didn't really know at the end. I was like, why did they take him out just for fun? It seemed like it just for kicks, like, he's really cool. Let's take him out.
That scene, her description was so unmemorable. You're right.
And it's in retrospect. It's told like almost in a mystery. Like, when did you like? It's not. It's like maybe the movie would have been more interesting if we had seen him jumping off the thing.
We see him standing on the ledge when he's an old man, and she's washing the window, but we don't see him jump and not fall.
Right.
Which is why wouldn't you show that?
Why?
Yeah. Anyway,
so that part kind of stuck with me. So stakes is a big issue, which leads to, and I'll let you go with the villain's plan, but it does lead to his goal being a low stake one. It's more a personal goal, right? Isn't that really what it comes down to?
It's weird. Well, one more thing I want to add, because
you mean
Neo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eventually, which doesn't come for a long time.
Dude, it's so weird. I'll get back into everything you're just saying in a second. I wanted to ask you guys, because I don't know. This is going to lead into everything we're about to talk to next. I think what the movie is saying, with Niobe being one of the antagonists, and you look at the antagonists for the opposing views, for the themes as well, and the choices the characters are supposed to make based on their interactions with the antagonists and overcoming the antagonists. She doesn't want them to free minds, and she's living hand in hand with the machines. So her goal is to maintain peace and to not free minds. I think what this and there's one line. Where is it? We're going to get into the stakes.
Which also makes you say, "What's wrong with all this? Why do we even need this?"
Well, so I think what this is trying to do is be like the first Matrix.
Yeah,
and be woke. And I think what's going on here is, I actually think Lana is trying to say this is like there. It's like a gentrified neighborhood, like the humans are suffering in reality of this story. The humans are suffering. They're enslaved in their batteries, but the humans that are alive have decided right next door to them, those humans that are batteries their suffering doesn't matter, and we're just gonna make strawberries. And hey, we made some good ass coffee. They even remember the shit that we used to eat. We're eating good now. Meanwhile, all the rest of humanity is fucking hooked up to the Matrix still, and they basically have let them suffer, and they're not. So
like IO is like the yuppies that are
exactly.
Right,
I think that's what it's trying to do, but it doesn't do a good job.
That's a really good theory, actually.
It doesn't do a good job of debating that. Right. So we don't feel it. It took me 2 views to go like, what the fuck is going on here?
It's part of the problem. I mean, you just hit like probably my biggest, if I had an overall criticism of this movie, you don't feel many of these things.
Mm-hmm.
They're in your head, and they're things you're piecing together in retrospect.
Mm-hmm.
But what you just said,
but Jamie, what does that sound like? That's like watching part 2 and 3.
it is. But what you just said, I mean,
The real movie is the discussion after.
yeah. But that theory you just said though is interesting to me, and I could feel that. I think you could make me feel that. You could make me feel guilty about living in the world with that, or something like that. You can make me reflect on my real world, but I never felt it watching this movie.
Imagine if Neo, instead of Bugs making this one line, because we're about to go into the stakes section, instead of Bugs debating Niobe, imagine if Neo took the Morpheus position. And Neo, because what this movie is ultimately missing is Morpheus's Morpheus is driven
in the one,
belief in the one to save humanity. It's not just about the one; it's what the one's going to do.
I think
which is save humanity.
I think this movie's trying to replace that not very well with Neo's love for Trinity and belief in her. But it doesn't do a good job of like everything else you've said.
Yeah.
It does not do a good job of that. Yeah. At all.
Yeah.
but that's what it's supposed to be.
So like imagine if we walked out of the scenes with Niobe in the real world. If we got there and there's 5 minutes in the real world and we leave 5 minutes saying, "Holy shit, no one gives a shit about the people in the Matrix.
They're just making strawberries. That's
the machines have won." What that section of the movie is trying to say is the machines won. Neo lost. Neo did what he did, and it didn't matter because now humans don't give a shit about freeing minds. All their brothers and sisters are over there hooked up the Matrix while they're eating organic strawberries they just made with the help of the machines.
It's just, isn't it odd that you don't give Neo any lines suggesting this?
No debate whatsoever.
Yeah, he's not the one that pushes back on you don't care about all those people enslaved like I was, or like you're fine just sitting here with your face.
What if you never woke me up before? Would you be eating those strawberries?
They're even living under a sham. Everything is a sham that they're living in, and they're fine with it.
Yeah. So
they explain it.
They didn't dramatize that. And what I mean is create conflict and tension around Niobe's goal, other than a single line from Bugs that she's like, what does she say? I have it on the next page. Bugs says, "You care more about growing fruit than freeing minds. You gave up on people." So we get one line.
I feel like it should have come from Neo, though. I feel like that's why it doesn't work, because Bugs is already this antagonist. She's not an antagonist, but she's an antagonistic character who's pushing back on authority. But if Neo said it, it would stick with us. Right,
exactly.
If he realized it after everything that's going on, he would stick.
Why didn't he say it? Yeah. So yeah, Jamie, I think the stakes in this movie aren't that, but it thinks it wants it to be that. And we don't feel it, so it's not. Really, the only stakes are Trinity, right?
That's what I thought. I thought it was a more personal Trinity kind of stakes.
Trinity's freedom.
Can I point out something too? I know we keep pulling the real world in here, but there has been a lot of memes and jokes about how most people, the world is so bad now in the last 5-10 years that people would prefer to be Cypher.
Yeah,
they kind of agree with him now because the real world has gotten there, and I know Lana pays attention to this stuff. She has to. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There's so there's that.
Now imagine if there was
with that.
I'm totally rewriting the movie here.
I know.
Okay, now listen. I got something good.
Okay.
To talk about the how this might be better dramatized.
Okay.
Imagine if instead of just Trinity and Neo back in the Matrix, if Morpheus was a Cypher in the Matrix who was "Hey man, humanity can't be saved. This steak tastes great." If Morpheus, the one who wanted to save humanity, is sitting there he's
if he made the argument if all that matters is what I perceive, then why is this actually wrong?
Yeah.
What is being free? If I'm actually am free here, and I can still feel and taste and see and do everything I could in the real world. So what is actually the difference, and why is it wrong? That's something that sequels didn't even really say.
Yeah, no, I know.
I would have
man.
loved if this
I would've
movie
loved-
actually touched on that. Like,
so
you know,
what I think we're all pointing out is the importance of stakes. And if you don't understand what those stakes are, if they're not in a cheeseburger movie, if they're not primal, then it leads to a less emotionally satisfying experience.
it's also the stakes of if they don't get Trinity out, what truly changes?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
I don't actually know.
even
Right.
for her. They want to do that other part where there's a debate. Is it better to just stay in the Matrix and be oblivious,
Yeah.
or is it better to be out of the Matrix and know the real thing? Because that's an element, it even lessens the stakes. Because if she ends up stuck there, well, she's got a kid, the husband, and stuff like that. Maybe it'll be okay. There's a gazillion other people that'll be okay.
You're planting the seed for my later notes.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, it in the end, when the stakes have been overcome, apparently, it does just seem like they're flying around in a Matrix that still has humans attached to it, doesn't it? Isn't that what?
Yeah, well, I
Right?
kind of want to touch on that end scene last.
Okay.
And
I'll
on
save
that
it.
note,
okay, I'll save it.
Save
I'll
that. No, but Jamie, were you talking about? Were you gonna say let's talk about Neo's goal specifically and
Yeah.
that
And-
makeup?
Yeah.
And it's really just tied to this. We've kind of already stated it to an
Yeah.
extent, because essentially so I think this is a late lock-in movie. By the way, I think if you go back to the first Matrix podcast, that has a weird late lock-in structure
Mhm.
too. As much as that movie is kind of raised as the archetype of 3-act structure, it kind of has this thing where Neo doesn't really have a mission until
Right.
toward the end almost.
Yeah,
So-
and which follows this
It's almost beat for beat the same, because this has
Yeah.
the same structure where the beginning he's in flux, he's confused, there's a mystery. The middle, he's educated onto what's going on, and then in the end, he gets an idea of what to do. Like
he's got to rescue instead of rescuing
just a matter of
Morpheus,
the
he has
sense
to
of-
rescue Trinity.
It's just a matter of the sense of
beats.
discovery is not the same
ways.
quality, really.
That's right, because we already know, so there's no like, wow, this is awesome.
Oh,
it's
everyone's
just
in
like,
a computer. Ah!
it's like, it's instead it's
Yeah.
wow, it's the same thing as the first movie with some really bad logic to figure out why batteries, and he's an old man, and why isn't Lawrence Fishburne here? This was the exposition.
Wait, so Neo
mind
can
thing
be
of the
just.
other part.
I like that they replace him, but also like they say, oh, he can also just look like a CGI guy in the real world. I was like, why isn't it Lawrence Fishburne as the CGI guy? Let's be honest. Regardless of the writing, if Lawrence Fishburne was there, it would make the movie better.
Yeah, no, I know.
It just would make the movie better. It annoys me.
I agree.
The
I agree.
weird-
Not that actor's not amazing. He is. He's amazing.
Yeah, he is
But
amazing.
He's great.
And not to get into the production, but did Lawrence Fishburne really need to do a lot of fighting? I mean, you get a bald
No,
guy with
you could have written
glasses
around it.
and a stunt man that looks just like him, probably with the glasses and stuff. I mean, come
You
on,
could have written around him having to do anything physical.
can't we CGI a face on somebody
Yeah,
fighting?
we have that technology.
I mean, we have. We bring
Well,
back Carrie Fisher. We could have somebody with glasses become Lawrence Fishburne. So
Yeah.
so anyway, at some point he locks into his goal being to rescue Trinity from the Matrix. Now, what are the stakes of rescuing Trinity? So if we have hero goal obstacle stakes, we have a hero wants to rescue Trinity. Is it just sort of the ethical right thing to do to free her mind, to bring her back to who she was? Is that really what's at stake, I guess? And
I
that's
think
what
it's
it
the
is.
love, man. Their
They
love.
debate it though. Remember that they debate for a moment if bringing her back is ethical, right?
Right.
They
Yep.
do.
I'm not misremembering that, right?
No,
Yeah.
they do.
No, they do. They
Yeah.
do.
But I think the stakes are a loving relationship with Trinity. Their love. You know,
Mhm.
it's the love story. It's this. So his stakes are extremely personal. The love story. So and if he
Right.
fails, he doesn't get to have a fulfilling life in the real world because the woman he loves is still permanently enslaved in the system.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
so yeah. So they're kind of abstract stakes again.
Mhm.
You know, his stakes are abstract, like love.
They're
Um,
they're very internal.
Mhm.
They're internal stakes. They're very
Mhm.
much internal. They're not
Mhm.
external as much.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. The lock-in for that, Jamie, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
is 51 minutes. So it's 36 minutes, 36% in, because it's a really long movie. So
Mhm.
percent-wise, it's not that late, 36%.
Right.
He sees her, he wakes up in the real world and he gets out of his pod and he sees her in the pod across from him. And from then on, he's locked and focused on getting her out to join him.
Can I throw something else out there that's just maybe an aside on this, though? Do you think that this is affected at all by the fact that both of them are reanimated corpses and death has been kind of overcome? in a way, the movie has already said like the machines can bring people back to life.
I don't know. That's a good point.
But
it
like,
didn't cross my mind.
in my mind, when I'm watching the movie, I was like, really, even though the machines are still evil that brought them back to life, I was like, we have kind of overcome death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a good
You know what I
point.
mean? So it takes away the stakes. I know that we're past the stakes conversation, but I'm realizing now that the fact that they have overcome death in the universe.
It feels like they could die and be brought back to life
Yeah,
again,
like,
is what you're saying?
Why can't the good machines...
That's a good point. It doesn't feel as primal, like they could die and then
their
they
death
might
is
come
not
back
final.
to life.
They both
Yeah.
have had brain death and they were brought back to life. Technically, they are
Yeah.
reanimated zombies,
That's true.
right?
That's true.
There- there's another Force Awaken thing that I thought was going to come up here, which is, you know, how this movie kind of invalidates, is much like Force Awakens, invalidated everything that happened in the first
The
trilogy.
victories.
Especially to the first three to the main three characters. It invalidates their struggle.
This movie had this huge ending of a sacrifice, and then you just bring back the person who sacrificed themselves, and it's a do-over. It's a redo.
Yeah.
You know.
It's also kind of funny because it's like this movie is a reanimated corpse of the first.
Yeah.
movies,
So
right?
it's yeah. There's your deconstruction paint.
on that. Yeah. It just never ends, man. Like as we dig into it, I appreciate the movie a lot more. I'll say that.
Yeah. Me too.
I can't say I love it, but I appreciate it.
Not feeling the things that it wants you to feel.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
execution.
Like I said, it's it's a mystery villain whose plan we don't meet until 95 minutes, and it's an abstract goal that the villain has.
Also,
why now? Like Jamie said, not a compelling why now. Why does the story have to take place here and now?
I have a point that I should have put in here, and it goes perfect with the hero's want and need.
Okay.
He wants to free Trinity, right? That's the thing. I want to say, like, something we've talked about before is the actual execution of the heist. They do so much double mumbo jumbo talk that it makes literally no sense to the viewer. I mean, I watched the movie 3 times and I still don't really understand what happens in that whole heist scene. About they hook bugs up so that
there is a 5-point finale, by the way, but I don't really want to go into.
I'm talking just about the heist. I'm talking about the Trinity heist. That part of it. It does not the actual like explanation of what is needed to do to get her out does not make sense to the viewer. It is not easy to understand. You have to write it in a way where it's very simple so that I know what's going on when I'm watching it, so the tension actually has heft, right? Did you guys, I mean, am I the only one that thought that whole, like, the execution of that sequence didn't make sense?
I don't know. I thought it was pretty simple. They're going to go in and they're going to, Neo's going to try to help her realize who she is. And then they're going to, while that's happening as a safety, as a backup plan, they're going to unhook her so that they could save her regardless. But in order to not threaten her consciousness, they're gonna. You're right. Now that I'm
listen
saying
to yourself talk, man. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
I was like, dude, it's totally
when
clear.
they talk about hooking
understand.
bugs up to her thing. I'm like, wait a minute, what? It doesn't make any sense. Why wasn't it just a matter of, we got to turn the switch right when this happens? That would have been so much easier than I've got to have a conversation with Neil Patrick Harris until some I don't know. It's just very odd. It just it didn't have tension because I didn't know what was going on.
The gathering the team is a lot to swallow. Yeah.
Yeah. The actual like nitty gritty of what they're doing in that moment means nothing to me. It just means nothing to me. And I've seen, maybe it's my fault. Maybe I'm missing something, but them hooking Bugs up to her thing and unhooking her. And also, it's like, why is unhooking her safe? Like now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
doesn't that kill them?
Yeah, that's what we were told, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Sorry,
okay.
I just
no,
saying,
it's
like,
okay.
The actual execution and like the things they say don't make sense in that to execute what he wants is what I'm saying.
Gotcha.
That's all. That was one of my biggest problems with the movie is the heist.
Gosh, we are really tearing into this movie. Okay.
Oh, we're supposed to talk? I mean, like,
no, you're right. That's why we do this. Yeah, it's just been a while since we did that.
This is not a straightforward movie.
the other thing I just to throw out there was the kind of hero's arc, and then maybe we can get to Trinity's arc as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was having trouble tracking like how to track Neo's arc, even though you can see like who is he in the beginning of the movie versus who he is in the end. In the beginning of the movie, he's a guy that feels like the world's a little off, and ultimately ends up being a guy who. And I was having a hard time nailing that. Like, who is he? That he has clarity with the world and clarity.
He found purpose in his love.
Love story. That could be it.
It's a love. Well, I still believe it's a love story.
Yeah, me too.
And that is part of the fuck you is the fact that it is a love story and not an action movie.
I mean, all their scenes together are like. Beautifully, it's like the one section of the movie that's beautifully shot.
I mean, guys, they float away like birds that he was watching the whole time. They're lovebirds.
Yeah, no,
I know. That is literally part of the movie.
I know.
I wish he was with her more in the movie.
Yeah,
for that reason.
I agree.
Like that would make I'd buy into that because I loved every scene when the two of them were together.
Yeah, and I think that's intentionally that like that's where she like made you care.
Mm-hmm.
And like took made the aesthetic choices that she made, did it like the first movie in that like really was selective about the aesthetics and
And honestly, it made me feel in a way like kind of RoboCop 2 almost,
Yes. That's a good
Yeah, it's like I almost wish. I mean, I'm rewriting
RoboCop
the
2
movie.
is a better movie.
Yeah, I'm pitching this
dude. Irvin
idea.
Kershner, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I almost wish it was like that, where there was more to Neo debating how much he wanted to invade her good life, her happiness,
right?
Pull her out. That would make me.
Well,
feel
and
Jamie,
okay,
do you also think
go ahead, Bob.
There is no debating on him being the one either? Like they do this whole thing where he can't fly and he has no powers anymore, but he seems to not even give a fuck.
He's blocking armies of bullets, and doing all the things. Because I think it's a
downgrade on a level that is ungodly. Let's be honest,
right?
But he doesn't seem to care at all about anything. He's just like, it's like, yeah, I can only stop bullets now. Whatever. His nonchalantness about the whole thing is kind of transferred to us. Well, right? Because we feel what he feels, right? Like we're supposed to be with him, and he's just like, yeah, this is all I can do. I can't fly anymore. Whatever. You're not gonna try.
That's not happening.
You're not gonna try. Come on. Give me something, Neo. Come on, man.
So we didn't really fully touch on Neo's goal of the Matrix 1. Which ultimately was to gain control of the Matrix. And we see him, how he's able to fly and do all the things that he does is by the end, we get to see him change the code itself and learn how to gain control of the Matrix. So Jamie, they definitely talk about Neo needing to get his mojo back. And Neo even has lines where he's like, what if I can't be the person I used to be? And they're like, then we're all fucked. And then they get into the climax, and even though he's kicking ass, like, and there's moments where he says like, I still know Kung Fu, where he's like where he's like showing us that he does have all the powers he had before, but ultimately when it comes down to it, he can't fly. Like the movie shows
I'm not saying he had to fly. What I'm saying is he doesn't seem to care about a lot of stuff. It's actually
that part barely seems to be a plot point.
But that annoys me that it's not. I think that should be a bigger thing.
I mean, I know it's.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
I know it's not like this, but it's almost like we couldn't afford to get him to fly or something. So let's just say, "Oh, I can't fly."
He can't fly.
Okay. Now let's go ahead into Trinity's arc because it's all related to this that we're talking about.
Speaking of flying,
right. Speaking of flying,
it's kind of why he can't fly is why she can, or the fact that she can.
Yeah. So Bob, you pointed out, and it wasn't until you pointed this out that I realized all the things I wanted to say about Trinity are circling around what you pointed out, which is it's supposed to be that in the end she's the one.
Yeah, they're both the one, but technically
together,
Trinity was always as important as Neo. Always, like it was never just the one Christ figure. It was the two of them. That story was bunk. It was actually we've been watching the wrong story the whole time. Yeah,
I agree that comes across at a surface level.
Yes.
Like barely registered, barely measurable. And that I think for me personally, when I watched, when I got through it the second time, when I was looking for talking points for a writing instruction, I think why this movie doesn't emotionally connect is because we get 40 minutes of Neo questioning his reality and coming to a conclusion of, wait a second, I'm that guy from the Matrix 1, 2, and 3, not Thomas Anderson. And we get to see the rises and falls of that in very interesting and dramatic ways. With Trinity, we get her sitting at a table talking about playing a game and her husband being dismissive to her ability to be a kick-ass person. We get to see none of that with Trinity whatsoever. We only get to so yes, I'm going to do this. I'm going to compare the writing to my clients. I don't care. One of my most common notes is show us the missing story moment. So often I'm reading a script where a person is sitting at a table telling me what happened to them and telling me how they feel about it instead of me just seeing the thing happen, which is how you emotionally connect with something. You see something happen, and then you tell us how the character is feeling about what just happened. All we get is Trinity at a table saying, my husband said I couldn't be a badass. I wanted to kick him in the face, And what's missing is we never get to
loves motorcycles.
And what's like, imagine, because what's happening is she's experiencing everything that's Neo's experiencing, but we don't get to see it. She sees herself as a different person, as like her reflection. She sees Trinity, but everybody else sees her, including her husband and her kids, as like an old woman. So they don't dramatize that. So when she plays the game and she's on a motorcycle kicking ass with Neo in the game, she's like, this looks just like me. What the hell? This looks just like that guy at the coffee shop. What is happening? And she says to her husband, doesn't this woman in the game look just like me? And her husband's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, we don't get to see any of that. We don't see that contrast between her husband seeing like this motherly, like motherly is the wrong word. This not Trinity. Like, imagine if we got to see all of that, dumping out the pills and all the things that we get to see from Neo, from Trinity, and then you build to them together, jumping off a building and her flying. It's like all that stuff.
So the point you're making is it's a movie. It's Trinity's movie where she is not the main character, and that's the problem. Essentially, right? That's what you're saying.
When you're getting down to the nuts and bolts screenwriting aspect,
right?
What a lot of people do, Jamie, I'm sure you see this in your students, is what a lot of people do is they write a beat sheet. These things need to happen, and then our character arcs. and then we don't actually get the growing pains to measure, to earn those moments. We need growing pains to feel the growth and change of a character. We need to see all these things happen, and then when they have that moment of growth, Trinity jumping off a building and flying, it feels earned. In this, we don't get those moments of growth. We just get her talking to Neo at a table about these things that happened off screen that are causing her to grow and change into realizing she's Trinity. So what I'm saying is it's missing the growing pains. It's not cinematically earned. We don't feel it because we don't see it. So it's a show us the thing that happens instead of just telling us about it afterward is my main point.
I completely agree, man.
Yeah.
Like, I can't really, yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's great. And I think what Bob said about how this movie, like what this movie could be, and it could be Trinity's movie and this and that. And I love that idea. I think that's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's this movie though at all.
It's not. No, it's not. And they had to have it be Keanu's movie. Just, I mean, Warner Brothers probably that was their one thing, right? It has to be Keanu as the main character, right?
Yeah, I think they might have done a disservice to making her, and she's kind of a damsel in this movie,
right? It comes off as a damsel because we don't get to see her.
It should be an empowering movie. And it doesn't really come off like that. Yeah,
right. Also, so I wish it was that movie that you described.
Can I point out something even more meta too about Trinity? Her husband is a guy named Chad, which feels very pointed. But it's also, if you don't know this, her husband is played by the director of the John Wick movies.
Oh, that's awesome.
And the guy who did the stunts for Neo in the original trilogy.
Fantastic.
So there feels like there's something there, right? Like, it feels very pointed casting to have him play that character, right? It's the guy who literally is responsible for Keanu's current action career, and was his surrogate in the original movies.
Yeah,
so she's married to like Keanu's surrogate, who's also in charge of his actions. Like I don't know. It's
very weird. I just keep going back to like they didn't show Trinity.
Yeah, you're right.
They didn't show Trinity's side of this, and that's what makes it feel like it. Like I've actually had a few friends tell me they walked out of this movie feeling like it's just a guy trying to go save his girlfriend from a computer program, from a game. Like, and it's like I can see that, but I definitely don't think it's trying to make Trinity out as a damsel, and certainly the performance doesn't come across that way. You know what I mean? So
how about this? It's empowering if you don't put it under a microscope.
Yeah, that's good.
Look, here's the weird thing about the other movies, is like the original Matrix, she was the kick-ass character, right?
Yeah.
She was the take action character who saved Neo from the thing, and she taught him how to be, and he realized it in the very end. This movie isn't quite that because she never even gets the middle section that Neo got in the last movie, but everything. I guess the next movie could be her movie. You know, I guess that's what it's saying, is like she is the cool character.
I mean, Lana won't be doing it. Lana won't be doing it.
Yeah,
she said no.
But yeah.
So it's not on the talking points, but this is like just a base. What the hell is happening in that last scene?
You're talking about the flying away scene?
The last scene of the movie, when
they show up at NPH's?
when they show up and NPH is being an asshole.
To me, analyst. That's where the most confusing part is to me. The great like gentrification point you were talking about. Like if the goal is that humanity should all be freed in the real world from the machines sucking our power, which is, by the way, I want to point out something. In the movie, they explicitly point out very, very bluntly, it's been 60 years. I don't understand why the machines even need humans anymore.
They haven't,
like they haven't advanced past needing us for whatever dumb purposes. That is the thing you just got to go with, but it's dumb. It's like they should have just figured this out without they don't need our brains hooked up to anything anymore. You know what I mean? Like if they can rebuild a human body, but they also need us. Okay, that's just, I know that's all just like that doesn't really matter for story, but it's a sci-fi movie, and you got to kind of think of that kind of thing. You put 60 years of time in there.
Mm-hmm.
You got to give me a reason why they didn't figure this out. Anyway, the last scene, it seems to me they're just saying things are going to stay the same, but we're in control now.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know,
right?
dude.
Like, and so then it just says to me that the human race is still going to be enslaved, but hey, but now the computer's controlled by human minds.
Yeah, I don't know.
Good? Is that a victory?
Don't know.
Well, I don't know.
Maybe I checked out by that scene, but my take was just like, oh, here's a cool scene where we get a one-up on Neil Patrick Harris. Let's fly away.
I mean, look, I wrote the dialogue. You want to
Yes, please.
It's not that long. All right, here we go. You're going to listen to me talk for like 1 minute. It's going to be like a class where they pass around the book and everybody reads. All right. NPH, the analyst, they fly in. He's just chilling on the couch. And she says, you tried to activate the failsafe, which, by the way, we didn't even go into. That whole thing is very confusing. As a reminder, the failsafe, when they're trying to rescue Trinity, the new Oracle, Sati, I think her name is, she says that the Matrix was going to reboot the system back to the previous version of its world. Okay? And that was like a big problem. But why? Like, what's the difference between the two Matrixes? We've seen the old one. We just saw it. And what's the difference? Anyway, Trinity tried to activate the failsafe. Trinity says, you tried to activate. The analyst says, the suits tried, not me. Obviously, without control of your source code, I knew that was impossible.
What's the difference between him and the suits, too? It's so hard for people to understand. Like,
I don't understand. Right?
Why are they not one mind? It doesn't make any sense that they're separated. I don't.
It's philosophy.
I get it, but it's hard. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, Trinity says, so why haven't the suits purged you? Hearing Bob's issue with the story, the analyst says, because I know the system, I know human beings, and I know you. Right now, you're feeling good about what you've done. You should. It was a victory. Bravo. Now what? You've come here to negotiate some kind of deal? You think you hold all the cards because you can do whatever you want with this world? I say go for it. Remake it. Knock yourself out. Paint the sky with rainbows. But here's the thing. The sheeple aren't going anywhere. They like my world. They don't want this sentimentality. They don't want freedom. They don't want empowerment. They want to be controlled. They crave the comfort of certainty, and that means you two back in your pods, unconscious and alone, just like they are. And Neo says, we're not here to negotiate. Trinity says, we're on our way to remake your world. Neo says, we're going to change a few things. Trinity says, I kind of like the paint the sky with rainbows idea. Neo says, just to remind the people what a free mind can do. Trinity says, I forgot. It's easy to forget. Neo says, he makes it easy. And Trinity says, that he does. And then Trinity says, before we got started, we decided to stop by and say thank you. You gave us something we never thought we could have. The analyst says, what was that? Trinity says, another chance. And the movie ends. What the fuck is going on in that scene?
I mean, if you listen to the now listening to you read it is more insightful for some reason than hearing it in the movie. But to me, it's like it's her talking about society more than it is what's happening in the movie to me.
Yeah, what does it have to do with the movie?
No, she's saying the whole thing about how we've become complacent with the systems of, like, you know, if we're just talking about America, the systems in America where we all lay dormant and let oppression happen, as long as you let us be comfortable. You know, like, we'll accept anything.
Okay.
That's all fine and dandy.
I can see that.
I'm down with it. Totally in line with how I feel. But also has nothing to fucking do really with what the hell happened.
20 minutes that just happened?
Yeah, it has nothing to do with anything.
That's my issue with it.
Yeah,
what
like
the
it's
hell
a good message.
Yeah.
It's a good message for life and for what's currently happening in America, but it has nothing to do with that movie. And also, like we said, everyone is going to stay in their pods.
Right. There's nothing about freeing minds.
It's not,
or helping out other people. It's just like Neo and Trinity are going to hang out in the Matrix and
the point of the original trilogy.
Fly around?
The point of the original trilogy was to free
with
humans
rainbows
from the pods so they can live in the real world and breathe real air and have their own choices, their free will. Here it doesn't seem like that. He says you won, and they don't even argue that they won. But it's like, so you're not going to just have the machines take everyone out of their pods? That's not the point?
Yeah. I'm so confused by the end of this movie.
Maybe it's going over all of our heads. It possibly is. I don't know.
I'm sure there's people listening like, dude, it's so obvious. They're doing this next. But I don't absorb any like understanding of what reward, because ultimately like when we want to feel like the characters won, right, we want to feel what their reward is. So what is Neo and Trinity's reward?
They can fly.
what am I supposed to take out of that? Well, they fly through the air hand in hand, so they're in love. They get to be in love together forever.
But they're in love, and they're basically gonna make a utopia for human minds that are still enslaved. That's kind of the ending, right? Like, okay, we're the gods now, and we're going to reform this world.
I don't know. Jamie, what do you think?
Yeah.
I had checked out by that point. I don't know what to say.
We didn't even go into theme, and I just kind of want to. This is, we often sometimes movies leave you with their theme, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what I think the movie's theme is. Just because, fuck it, we're talking about this weird-ass movie for 2 hours. I think this movie is saying love conquers all, especially the Hollywood franchise system. Like,
sure.
Okay?
Love conquers all is what it's aiming for, I think. I agree.
Yeah, but they don't...
I don't know what they conquered.
What do they conquer?
Here, the problem is also is like the
control over their own individual minds and not the collective.
Is the true problem,
maybe that's it.
Is the true problem that there's no ending cap on Niobe? I feel like there should be something in the ending with Niobe and Io.
It's never revisited
that was revisited and like Niobe was like, if Niobe said to the two of them, now you can make a matrix where it enables us to free more minds. I'm sorry that I doubted this and I was wrong for ever becoming complacent or something like that. Maybe I would understand.
No, I mean, I could see how somebody could read into this and be like, it's up to you. It's up to you
to make your theme.
to free your mind.
Yeah.
And you can't rely on some savior persona to inspire you to make change. You need to do it on your own. I could see that, but I don't think that's clear. I don't know.
It's like the antithesis of a blockbuster ending, right?
Yeah. It's so ambiguous.
Something I wrote down too is if you go back to the part of the movie that Jamie liked, that we all liked, one of the things I liked about the boardroom scene is the one guy who didn't like the first Matrix, something he said there, he goes, I've got zero tolerance for anything that requires a syllabus and a highlighter. I like my games big, loud, and dumb. And then the same guy also says reboots sell. I didn't like the first one. So, but my point is to go with what you're saying here is that he's got no tolerance for anything that requires a syllabus and a highlighter. Anything that makes you think that guy is framed as an atrocious person in the movie, he hates something that has ambiguous endings and makes you think. That's what we're dealing with here.
Interesting. Yeah.
So, like, she did set that up to some degree. Like, the ending is not going to be cut and dry. Neo's in charge of the Matrix and he flies away. That's not what happens. I mean, it is what happens. They do fly away to a cover of the same song, but you know what I mean? Like, the actual wrap up is not, it's like, did they win? Or are they just going to be able to have like ultimate sex in space now because they both can fly? I don't know.
I think it comes back to like, I'm remembering now when we were talking about the stakes for Neo was just like a fulfilling, loving relationship, which is very abstract.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the end, the reward he gains is a fulfilling, loving relationship. with the person
Yeah,
he loves.
That's kind of my overall take, is kind of like a happiness cannot be found and unless you, I don't know, throw away the mind control of,
how about this? How about this?
Of the Hollywood franchise system.
Find your own happiness is the most important.
Yeah.
Find your own happiness.
Find your own
because
happiness.
the world isn't going to do it for you.
Yeah.
Right. These movies aren't going to do it for you.
It's weird because like that is the thing that you think the Niobe gentrification thing's pushing back on. It's saying the fact that we only care about our own personal happiness means we're letting the world go into the toilet.
Right. That's the opposite of that.
Of that, yeah. So it's very odd that that's the ending.
Yeah. Yeah. So what, is Niobe not an antagonist then? Is she? Because I feel like it's so clearly. I don't know, man. I feel like that's like Io is supposed to be a gentrified neighborhood that's not seeing the suffering of the rest of the people right next door. I think that's pretty clear.
There's probably, okay, if I try to assume, it's probably something like Neo and Trinity now have some sort of ultimate control, even though the suits apparently still have some power.
They got their source code, man.
They got their source code, but
no, Neil Patrick Harris does. Sorry,
Neil Patrick Harris does, but they still have that. Sorry, Jamie, I know you're like, Jesus, guys, what are you talking about? But since
I gotta go get an Advil.
So they have control of the Matrix, but because the movie framed the machines and humans working together as the ultimate goal now, there's something there with the fact that, okay, we're gonna let the humans stay in the computer, in the pods, but we're going to also have them all work together, and we're going to live as one harmonious family between the two.
Okay. There's something
I may be stretching here, but I'm trying to find out what Lana was trying to say. You know?
What the hell is happening? Yeah.
I don't know.
Because I feel like that is the go to the classroom scene, and it's at the very end, and I don't know what the lesson that we're being taught is. So, yeah.
I mean, that ending is outside of what we're talking about, the ending is a perfect middle finger to any of the dudes that love the original trilogy action.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
it really is. It's just like the absolute.
Can't you control her?
Yeah. Well, no. Also, it's just like kind of anticlimactic and like just okay. They're two lovebirds floating in the air, and they found each other. Like, that's it? That's how you're going to end your big action movie sci-fi franchise? All right. This is a weird one to talk about in every aspect because we really have much like watching it and much like talking about it for this podcast, we have nowhere to hold on to.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Bob.
Yeah.
I got a question.
Sure.
One more question. What have we learned?
Jamie, you go first. Jamie,
silence.
Did you learn anything?
I'm
looking at your face right now, wondering. That's why I had to push it.
This was a movie that was again, I watched it and I liked some of the ideas in it, but overall I didn't really like it. So, but I'm not sure what I would have even done to fix like this. I'm not sure about this. Maybe this franchise, its next step, and this is really not what I've learned, but this is kind of how I figured out. Feels like it's time to go to television or something. Maybe they'll do television series on HBO Max next. And maybe that's what this really was a stealth pilot for a TV series that will
stealth pilot. How about that?
The stealth pilot.
It's not in Lana's mind, I don't think.
No.
Yeah.
I'm
looking for what I learned.
I think that I didn't really read the gentrification aspect that you read like you did, so I learned that.
I like that.
But I think the thing I learned the most is because you got it from something I said, but it should have just been a Trinity movie. Much like Toy Story 4 is a Woody movie, Toy Story 4 rightfully made Buzz not the focus anymore.
You're right.
And it made Woody, that is his movie. It should have been called Woody's Story. I still stand by that. That's what the title should be. This should have been a Trinity movie, and it would be light years better for it.
I agree.
But I also understand that you can't deny the Keanu-sance happened, and you need him to be the main focus. His story's just less interesting here. It's him being depressed and going, I miss my girlfriend.
Pretty much.
That's what the movie is. It's him being, that's what it is. And it's just not that interesting, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Good.
That's what I learned, I guess. Also, you know, Speed Racer's great. I love Speed Racer.
I learned two things. It sort of validated some things that I feel as a writer, as a teacher, are important. This validated why they're important. Mystery villains are not compelling. They're tension killers. Mystery villain plans are not compelling. They're tension killers. Villains with abstract goals are not compelling. They're tension killers. This movie does all three. We don't even learn who the villain is or what their plan is for 95 minutes. And that, compared to the original Matrix and why that movie is so emotionally satisfying, those are the big things. And then the other thing is the importance of showing us something important that's happening to your character instead of telling us about after it happened, which is all the growing pains of Trinity. I really feel if we had got to experience 40 minutes of Trinity coming to the realization that she is Trinity and not this person in the Matrix, this fake persona, I think the whole movie would work as all the love story. I think everything would fall into place in the way that they intend it to. So those are my two big things. Show us what's happening to your character. Don't tell us what happened to your character after it happens and not show us. So those are my two.
I think one thing that this movie and The Matrix both reaffirms to me, but also makes a little bit muddied for me. I think when you have a really complicated world like this is, like almost like I need to go do research after the movie to even figure out what happened. If you can keep like a really simple through line with good stakes, good goals, good obstacles that are really simple, like if that part's simple, you can make the world and the philosophy and things like that really complicated. And I think this movie, to me, those things get a little muddied or ambiguous, or even at the end, I debate like the motivations and things like that, the simplicity of that through line.
Yeah.
I learned when in doubt, you write a scene where a CGI Hugo Weaving gets slow motion punched in the face. And they didn't have that here, and that's why it's not as good. I think we've said everything we can without talking in circles. I don't think we could go any farther.
I think we talked in circles a lot.
Yeah, we have because the movie talks in circles.
I think we were trying to figure this one out as much as anything else.
Yeah. So enjoy. I hope people enjoy us dancing around the fire on this one. Do we have anything besides Save the Cat Rights for TV to plug? Anybody?
Nope, I got nothing.
I got nothing. Nothing.
All right, nothing's happening in life. Everyone's home and we're home and complacent in our gentrified neighborhoods.
Yes,
letting tyranny happen. That's what we're doing. We're letting the machines just ruin our lives.
Damn, that hits hard, Bob.
It hits hard. It's kind of irrelevant. It's so relevant too. Like if it was executed better, it could really mean something.
Yeah,
you know?
I think the other way you could look at it is one day your Neo will come for you. And teach you how to fly.
Finally, no more walking. I think that's everything, guys. Everybody, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
You have just listened to Writer's Blockbusters, a screenwriting podcast featuring two professionals and another guy. Available only on Thundergrunt.